Hello, everybody. It's Wednesday again, and it's time for our spiritual light talk. And here I am with my friends, Kempf and Silvia Gibbons. And today's topic it is the law of freedom. So, in order to keep going here, I just want to say good evening to Miss Gibbons. How are you, my dear?
I am very well. Good evening, everyone. Nice to be again here with you all, and hope everyone participates because this is a very interesting topic. As always, every week we have a really interesting topic, and it's nice sometimes to explore things and things that we know already, but to see different perspectives of it. And as times change and everything is important. So be good. And I hope we were both well, had a good week. And I hope everyone that's been listening to us is well. So, boa tarde a todos. Hoje nós vamos falar sobre a lei da liberdade e sejam bem-vindos a todos. Esse tópico importante da gente falar e discutir, ver as perspectivas diferentes. E participem, façam perguntas se quiserem. E espero que vocês tenham tido uma boa semana e que vamos ter um bom show hoje. Boa tarde e que Deus nos abençoe. Thank you.
Amém. Bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir Steven, bonsoir à tous. Très heureux d'être là parmi vous de nouveau pour parler un peu de cette loi de liberté, du liberté, égalité, fraternité bien connue, la devise française. Donc on va essayer de comprendre un peu mieux cette liberté du point de vue de la philosophie spirit. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening everyone. Very happy to be here again with you today. Talking about this law of freedom from this famous liberty, equality, fraternity, which is a French motto. So we will try to understand a little bit better this law of liberty according to the Spiritist body of knowledge.
Great, great. So, as Silvia said, my friends, if you do have any questions, please write to me here and ask to ourselves. We're more than happy. We'll try our best in order to answer your question. Okay, let me share my screen and show us the video of today. Okay.
Our life, our material life, is never good enough. We are always thinking about get more money, a better position in our jobs, or get a new car, or seeing the other homes that looks better than the ones that we actually have at this moment. But in our lives, we are plenty of blessings. So be dressed right now is a blessing. If we had lunch today, we had a blessing in our lives when we see that many people, including here in the United States, they have a lot of limitations to get a plate of food or to be warm on the winter. So we always have something in our closet that will be a blessing to others. If we don't have anything financially, we have time. We have our arms that we can hug. We can listen others. And most of the times, and this is what Spiritism is teaching us, that we can offer our attention and our feelings to others.
Okay. Okay. So, law of freedom.
This interview left me
This
speechless.
is kind of an important topic because we I bet you already have listen someone say, "Hey, I'm free to speak up whatever I want, do whatever I want, whenever I want." And if you want to say whatever you want, you should be prepared to receive whatever you need. So this is something we always questioning ourselves: how far we can go, how far is my liberty, how how should I treat it, how should I behave, am I have a true liberty, or I have a faith, I have a destiny, am I have a life, a short life to do everything I need to do, or do I have many lives and I can share the, the experiences I live? So all these questions somehow reached your mind someday. If it didn't reach yet, so it will be, for sure, it will be. And in order to start to understand this law of freedom, I'd like to ask Charles if he could, if he can give us an overview what it is the law of freedom according to the Spirit's book.
Ah, it's a good question, um, but not very easy to answer, I must admit. But let's try. When we go a couple of centuries behind, you saw there was slavery, there was, how to say in French, these social classes, and some had hard work, the other one not, and so on. The same happened in US, in a little bit everywhere. And then in the 18th century started having some revolutions. And the revolutions, what was the aim for the revolutions? It was to conquer, to gain liberty. Okay, which I think in the US it's the case. In France as well, it's this famous liberty, equality, fraternity, which came out of the French Revolution. And this leads us to understand that the liberty is really something that we have in ourselves, something that we aim naturally. So that's why Kardec asked the spirits, is it really a natural law of liberty? And the spirits confirmed. And it's indeed also one of the main difference between humans and animals. For instance, the humans, we have the free will. Animals, they follow more the instinct than their free will. They have a very little free will, but more instincts. And in the human, we have more free will and less instincts. Okay. So indeed, this law of liberty is a natural law and clearly confirmed, or natural law or divine law, which is the same, because natural laws have been done by the creator, which is God. And so that's why there is a full section only about this law of liberty in the book third of the Spirit's book, which is exactly about this natural law. So these laws, natural laws, are universal. They apply to everyone. Everyone is submitted to the same laws. Everyone is being born one day. Everyone will die one day. There are a lot of things that whether you are poor or rich, the thing will happen to anyone. So we are all equal somehow in front of these natural laws. Now, the law of liberty, the Spiritist law of freedom, Spiritist teachings are bringing some food for thoughts on it. We all aim this freedom, okay? What we see also, most of the wars, even today, are wars, fights from authority against freedom. Okay. What is happening in Ukraine? It's more or less this. You have an authoritarian regime in Russia, and you had Ukraine aiming to have more liberty, more democratic principles that they can see now everywhere, just aside in Europe, and so on. And the war is one of the big one of the core reasons for this war is exactly this fight between authority and liberty. And this is a theme that was developed very deeply also by Léon Denis. And where is authority coming from? Why do some people are willing to have privilege and or some other want to dominate the masses, whether it's religious leader or political leader or whatever? It's because of the selfishness and excessive pride. So we always come to the same monsters, selfishness and pride, which we see clearly they are opposed to the natural laws and more particularly opposed to the law of liberty. Now the question is, are we completely free, we human? Clearly, no, we are not completely free. Why? Because we live together. So our liberty stops, our freedom stops where it jeopardizes the freedom of our neighbor. And so if nobody respects the liberty of nobody has the liberty anymore, you know. So it's following the same principle. Do unto the other what you would like the other to do unto you, or don't do to the other what you don't like, that you don't want the other to do unto you. So the liberty of anyone is stopping where it jeopardizes the liberty of our neighbor. So as soon as we are several people together, as it is the case for humanity, our liberty is not absolute. In the relationship between humans, we have to respect these limits because we aim also to have these limits respected towards ourselves. So that's just to introduce the subject. I will stop here, otherwise.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Thank you. And I would say good evening, Marco Davis. Good evening, Olena Bablis. Good evening. So, yes, law of liberty. It is. Sometimes I question myself if we do have enough knowledge to understand it. But let's see what's. And my dear Silvia, since we have, sorry, the law of freedom, why we don't enjoy the absolute freedom?
Since we have the law of freedom, well, I think a point Charles covered, because we are only completely free if we live alone in the middle of the desert. So if we go and live in the middle of the Sahara by ourselves, like as a hermit, then we can do whatever we want because we're there by ourselves. But if from the moment that you are with another person, you have the responsibility to respect, not only responsibility, but the duty to respect other people's space as well. Because as you would not like anybody to invade your own space, you wouldn't like to do that to others either. I think we have freedom of thought. That's one freedom that we have, no matter where we are, even amongst, even if we are amongst lots of people, we are free to think whatever we want. That is one freedom that nothing and nobody can take away from us. And with that, we have a free will. um, of course, some people in certain situations will not have free will, and a man, a man and a woman, I mean, talking about humanity, only have really freedom, um, free will after they are able to, once they grow up and they are able to act on their own. As a child, you don't have free will because you're under the responsibility of your parents, and you are immature, and there is lots of things you don't know. So you have your parents guiding you and telling you what is right, what is wrong, what you can do, and what you cannot do. And then we go to school and we start living with other people. So a circle expands, because once we go to school, we meet other children and teachers and other lot of other beyond a family and a personal friends. And as we grow, as we grow up, become young adults, a circle will increase. A circle of people that we know will increase, and also with that a lot of responsibilities, because we treat everyone well, with respect, but that is the level of how much a person knows. Some people for a long time, and you'll be very close to them. You'll be able to be more intimate with them, telling them things about your life. And other people, you have just an acquaintance, but you have to have the respect. And I think a question of a freedom and a free will is that we have a free a free will and a freedom to do whatever we want, provided we respect other people's freedom as well. And because my freedom does not mean that I overstep on somebody else's freedom. So I think this comes a kind of respect as well. And I think it's even deeper, because in a way it's almost like it's the process of growth, of enlightenment that our spirits go through, because we live in different situations. We have to know how to deal with with different peoples that we will be meeting, but that will be always important, how we treat other people. And this is one of the things that really should mark our boundaries, of how far we can go and everything. Because I think there's one thing in Spiritism that you're free to do whatever you like. There is no forbidden things, in Spiritism. We, it doesn't say you can't do that, you cannot do something else, and this is forbidden for you, and you have to do this. In Spiritism, you're free to do as you want, as your conscience tells you. But it also tells you can do whatever you like, provided you can cope with the consequence of what you do. And I think this it's not something forbidden. But if one thinks, okay, I can go and say whatever I want, I can do whatever I want, but then if I do something wrong, I have to live with the consequences of that. Cannot accuse anyone, and depending what you do, you can go. And I think this is an extremely adult way of thinking, especially if you're educating children and teenagers, especially teenagers, because you say, oh, because I think we all been through that phase, when we were teenagers. And like Oscar Wilde used to say, oh, I'm not young enough to know everything, because young people, they think they know everything. And they they think, oh, I can do this, I can do that. But are you You can do everything, but are you prepared to suffer the consequences of what you're doing? Are you prepared to maybe serving someone, saying something cruel to someone, to lose the person's friendship, or to be, to affect you in a different way? And I think in this way, if you show both ways, I think people, they are their own, how could you say it? They themselves will create their own barriers, because they say, no, I don't like to other people to do this to me, so I will not do it to anybody else. And that's a way that, we can sort of guide our young people towards that, and even ourselves, because there are many things, even as we grow older, that we don't like anything. Oh, especially if you get one of those old people like I am getting. So, oh, no, this is wrong, that's wrong. But we need to learn to let people learn by their own lessons, because no one will learn, by you telling them. Maybe by your example, yes, they would learn. But sometimes you have to go through your own experiences. And so free will, and the way Spiritism puts it, you are only able to when you are free to act. Until you are under other people's responsibility, you have to listen to them to a certain extent. And this is very important. It's not something that's negative. When we're young, we don't know any better. So it's just having to someone grown up to tell you what's right and what's wrong, what you can do. And even if sometimes we don't like it, but once we look back, it's nice to know that someone took care of you. So I think our intelligence and our level of life experiences, as we go through many different experiences as we grow older, in many ways we put the boundaries of how much we can go and until when, and also how much we allow other people to get into our space. And I think, because in a way, freedom of conscience is what you do, and is what your morals, or what your standing is, what I can and I cannot do. I think very much, after we are guided by our parents, our grandparents, our teachers, and everything, we start doing it ourselves. And this is very, very important for us. So we are free. We are free, even though we have to respect other people, and we have certain duties and have to respect, and the duty of respecting other people. But it's still what we think is ours, isn't it? No one can tell you no how. Even if you is enslaved in chains, tied up to chains, they cannot move. No one can actually stop you thinking. And that's the true freedom. So also, it bears on us what kind of thoughts we have. I feel that, that we need to also have good thoughts, but that's our own. And of course, this has nothing to do with our bodies, but it's our spirit. It's the experience of our spirit has gone in the past. The kind of person we are is our spirit. It's not our bodies in the here and now. So it's all part of the experiences that we are going through. So there you are.
Yes, Silvia, and it's very interesting what you just said. I mean, freedom of thought, and I was talking about this fight between authority against liberty, and unfortunately, it's always hard. The French Revolution was tough, American one was tough, British one was tough as well. The fight, it is needed really to fight against the authority to gain the liberty. But today it's getting, I would say, even more complicated, because even knowing that we have this freedom of thoughts, what is happening is this manipulation. When you are born in North Korea, since you are a little baby, you are getting formatted in your thoughts according to that standard. So these dictatorial systems are already influencing, they are willing to annihilate this liberty of thoughts, isn't it? But okay, this works as long as the person, they don't have, how to say, strong personality, or let's say, the liberty comes really together with the evolution of the spirit. The spirit, which is highly influenceable, is not free. We have seen it in the video at the beginning. The guy who is never happy, always want to have a better house, a better car, better this, better that. He has all these needs which are jeopardizing his liberty. He's not free, in fact, when he's feeling compelled to by himself even to consume or to buy or whatever. And the true liberty comes along with our evolution.
Exactly. But exactly, this is very important point, Charles, because even in the most oppressed and brainwashing regimes in the world, there is always dissidents.
Yeah,
exactly.
There is always one who says, no, I don't accept it. Because I think one of the main things of those strong regimes that wanted to control you, and I mean, we had that. I lived through it. I know what it's like. But there is always one who stand up and say, no, we don't accept that. Because they dominate and control people by fear. And, some of us are more delicate than others, are more fearful than others, and we'll toe the line. But it's one thing that you said, about the French Revolution, that they were terribly oppressed, they were hungry, and they were really mistreated. They were, people talk about slavery, and they think always is the slavery of the people from Africa who went to America. But the people in France were slaves. The peasants in France were slaves, like the serfs in Russia. Until the 1860s, they were slaves. And that's one of the things that sometimes people don't understand. But there came a moment and said, no, enough, and then we had those people who take advantage of the others, and they transform things for their own advantages, but in every situation, in every regime, they are oppressed, they control people by fear, hunger, lack of education, because this always goes together, doesn't it? In those places, little education, so people don't know any better, they don't learn how to think, and fear, of unemployment or losing your situation. And it's incredible how Machiavellic some of these are. I always remember that message that Machiavel gave to the prince. You have to give them so many favors that if you fall, they fall as well. So you keep in power, you need to give privilege to a lot of people. And I'm afraid we're still very Machiavellic. And I think we need to learn not to do it in our personal lives, But I feel that, what you said, those spirits who are more advanced will stand and will say no.
Yes, and even if they are not in the country, now they can even control the information or whatever. But willing or not, the people get the information, and they see really regimes which are different from them. And even if they have been formatted when young, by seeing what happens around them, it awakes, how to say this, needed education and discernment around them. So clearly, the trend, together with progress, that we will talk about next week, by the way, will be to go more and more in the direction of this freedom. So it's a trend that there are a lot of obstacles. They are putting a hell of intelligence in order to maintain the authoritarian systems. but sooner or later they will collapse. It's unavoidable.
And well, I like that. So, in summary, we can say that our freedom is limited by our knowledge.
Well, it is and it isn't, because I think one of the ways of controlling, when I said of government, is controlling education, is making people. I mean, I'm an older woman, and I remember our school was really tough. I remember the quantity of homework I used to bring, and really the heavy grammars, and we had to read 1, 2 books a week, and he studied this and talk about it and write things. And now there is all this little filling up, so you can just throw it, because a person who, through study, through learning, you learn how to think, you learn how to take abstract ideas. But I think what Charles said, which I agree completely, there are some more advanced spirits that will be born in those places, because if you look through history, there hasn't ever been oppressed regimes that didn't have people who fought against them. Even the Nazis, they were very powerful. They knew how to destroy every kind of opposition to them. But even then, there were people who stood up, who fought against them. Because I think it's in the very nature, the very essence of who we are, that even though they cut our education, they don't give us enough food, there is something in the human spirit that will push us forward and to, even though it deteriorates. Because I remember one of the things, when I studied about the French Revolution, I was fascinated by it. I was just freedom, liberty, and then, when I read about the women knitting while people are going to the guillotine, it was so shocking to me. I remember once going home from school thinking, how could it happen? When did it change so much? But it's like that. But people did fight. They overcame, and no matter how Russia, when you think about Stalin, how he used to absolutely wipe out any completely control. But there was always people against him. There wasn't enough Siberia and gulags to keep the people who say, no, I don't want that. And I think that's a spirit, the experience of the spirits who have gone through it, and the courage that many lives experience will help you, because we always will have someone who stand up and say no. And it takes one, doesn't it, for others to follow.
Oh, yes. Just
Sorry, I
won't say,
started.
let's go, let's do it, let's fight.
Yeah. No, we don't want this, want something else,
Also, can we affirm that is freedom of conscience? It is a consequence of freedom of thought.
Yes, I mean, if it depends how you define conscience. The conscience can be defined as being an inner thought in the human being. So if we have the freedom of thought, we have the freedom of conscience. Okay. But on another hand, the conscience is also, how to say, a kind of, there is a question I like in the Spirit's book, which Kardec asked, where is written the law of God? And the answer is in the conscience. So we have good conscience, we have bad when we do something good, we have bad conscience when we do something bad. So the conscience is a kind of warning us when we do good or when we do something wrong. So the freedom of conscience, yes, is a kind of a consequence of the freedom of thought. And the free will of the human being is also a must. I mean, without free will, we would be either animals or machines, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
everything written, and then we just follow a track and we cannot deviate from that track. There are people who think we are like this, but I'm convinced I'm not. I know that at a given point in time, I will decide to do something completely different, completely unexpected, which was not in the program, So using my free will. And this is really one of the characteristics of human being, because God also doesn't want us to progress under stress or under strength. He wants us to progress autonomously according to our free will, using our free will for good and for progressing towards perfection, towards happiness, and towards freedom, isn't it?
Agreed. Yeah.
Voilà. And then with the free will, it has also, how to say, something which is correlated to it, which is the responsibility. As Silvia told very well at the beginning, we are free to do whatever we want, but we are responsible for what we have done. And our degree of responsibility is also increasing together with the evolution. The more we know that what we are doing is good or bad, the more responsible we are because we knew it. We don't have the excuse that Jesus gave to the people when they put him on the cross, was saying, Father, forgive them, they don't know what they are doing. So basically, they are not responsible. But as the more we progress, the more we know what we do, the more, of course, we are responsible. And this responsibility, together with the freedom, are really what is doing to humankind its dignity and its morality, isn't it?
Yes.
So this is really the key attribute of the human being compared with animals. And still, I'm astonished to see that some people think that our conscience is just a reaction of some biochemical reaction in our brain, which can be predetermined once you know the initial conditions. With calculations, you mean you can know exactly what I will do tomorrow or day after tomorrow. And we see obviously that this is absolutely false. We have the free will definitively.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how we use this free will, because sometimes we need to make a decision, you know, and the decision we make is based on the knowledge we have acquired up to that moment. I don't know, perhaps years later, we are reviewing it. We think, oh, perhaps I should take another approach. That wasn't the right approach. But this is not meaning it was wrong. It means you fight with the weapons you have at that time. And we need to know how to use it in order to deal with the consequences of our actions. Like we saw in the video, and Charles mentioned this. I fight a lot to buy a house, to get my home, no matter how small it is or how big it is, it's yours. But when we see another house, beautiful, we say, "Oh, well, no, you need to enjoy the moment you get something. You need to contemplate whatever you can." Also, in the video, they said perhaps a coach who is in your a spare coat who is in your wardrobe, it is a blessing for someone. So everybody is in a different moment, thank God, because imagine everybody is on the same grade of evolution, the same things will not go any further. But we need to understand that the consequences are truly on us. Without blaming anyone, without judging anyone, we need to deal with that. But today, what we do, we we just say it's easy to blame someone, it's easy to blame God, it's easy to blame everybody else except us. And again, this is not a game of blaming or not, it's a game of, hey, come on, you made the decision based in the concrete facts up to that time. So our conscience is like kind of the autonomy and heteronomy charts. The facts is there. It's not because you don't have facts you need to believe. You believe if you want. But the facts, nobody can change. If you don't agree today, perhaps you agree tomorrow. But the facts is there. You know. Let me see what I have more.
I think one thing that coming from what you said, or what I think, I mean, in one of the questions in the Spiritus book, it says that nobody, absolutely no one, is born to be property of somebody else. Everyone is free. And some people use this because of customs and all things. But as we progress spiritually, this kind of oppression will not exist ever again, because every single person is born and in the same way, and this is important. And I think also, the point that Charles said, which I think that the spirits teach us, that the laws of God is written in our conscience. So what I think what is implied to me is that we are born knowing what's right and what's wrong. And we make the choices of making wrong choices, and then we try to ignore them. And, we go on and everything. But I think, some of the things saying, I don't think it's wrong personally for a person to make an effort to work harder because they want to have a better house, or because they want to have a better car, or to have a better standard of living for their children, have better schools. I think it's good, it's important for the person to hello.
Yeah, we
Sorry,
can hear you.
if we
Yes,
keep
go
thinking that
on.
somebody else has better things, hello, are you? Is everybody there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
go
hear you.
on. Go on. Yeah, yeah. There was some interruption, but very short.
It's just that sometimes if you keep thinking that somebody else has, then that's wrong. Oh, hello, hello.
Yes, we are here.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
what I was saying is that it's good to make effort to have a better life, to do things. I think it's important. I think the wrong in that is just oh no, but somebody else has something better than I have. And I think that was the point you were making, wasn't it, Stevan? That you
Hmm.
have your house, and if you want to have a better house because you think you deserve a better house, you're going to work harder, but not because. I think the wrong thing is when people said, "Oh, but I want to have what he has." I think that's where the thing is wrong. But from what I gathered as well from that beginning video was that, and I think it happens quite a lot, we don't know how to be grateful. I remember once this spiritual guide saying to me, sometimes it's good to look back. You always look forward to what has, something better. But every now and then, look back, go over your shoulder and look what's coming behind you, because you learn to be grateful for what you have. I think the point he said, did you have lunch today? Do you have a coat to go out in the cold? A nice pair of shoes that keep you warm? And I think that's one of the things we need to learn, to be grateful, because sometimes we forget to say that if you have a home to go to that keeps you warm in winter, if you have food in your plate for at least 2 or 3 meals a day, if your children are healthy and they can go to a nice school, or if you can go to a hospital and be treated, you are a millionaire.
Yeah.
Because I think 7 to 8% of the population of the world don't have that. And I think that's one of the things we need to learn, to be grateful, not only for the things, material things we have, but for the health, for our health. We forget how precious our health is and how quick it can change, how very quickly it can change. um Last week and the week, last week I went to the funeral to a very good friend of my darling, wonderful people that I knew, and they got sick, and they got, like, in 3 months they both died, and they were buried one day after the other. And until then they were happy. We were talking, oh, there was a party and she was preparing to go to the party, her son's wedding, and decorations and dresses and this. And this year we were burying her, and she got sick so quickly, and almost nothing could be done. And, we have to be grateful that we are healthy, that we have friends, that we have family. If we have one friend, if we have one member, if we have one person that we love them. It doesn't matter if they love us back. It doesn't matter. If we have one person that we love, we are already so rich, spiritually rich. We have the baggage that we can actually take with us when we leave this body, And I think that's one of the things sometimes we forget to be grateful for so many blessings that we receive. We complain too much, I think. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, we complain and we are kind of selfish. We need, like, what it is, according to the spirit's book, what it is, the the worst, not the worst, I forgot the word. What is the obstacles for our progress? Pride and selfishness. That's it.
Yes, and Leon Denis talking about freedom. He says, in order to be free, you must be willing to be free and make efforts to get free, huh? By getting rid of the how to say, the weight of ignorance, huh? And also of the passions that we cannot control. And this is again using of the free will, using our will in the direction of evolution and of freedom. So it's not something which comes like this. Granted, the guy who stays without doing any effort and so on, it will take some time until he develops this freedom. He goes on the path of evolution. But the one which is really using the will, as Silvia told, he even formatted the influence since baby. He's at a given point in time, he will come and say, no, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Or no, I will not consume. I will not buy the things I don't need. I will not let the passion for this or that dominate me. I want to dominate the passions, and getting then emotional control, and together the spiritual intelligence. So Leon Denis was really, it's one of his favorite subjects in the problem of the being and of the destiny, chapter 22, where he develops this law of freedom in a very, very nice way.
Yeah. The other knee is amazing. It is amazing. Thank you
and
for.
freedom is so precious, isn't it, to have? And but I think I think you, Stefan, you said something, and you know some of the things you said as well, Charles, because we are living in a world now that people seem to be happy by following other people. I can't. It's completely anathema to me. This thing called influencers, that people
Yeah.
completely imbecilic things, some of it, and they have thousands of followers wanting to wear the same dress, do the same hairstyle, say the same thing. You know, a minority, a very less wanted to impose their ideas on us, and you are not able to say anything. And this, I mean, being a child of the 60s, I say no, 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 no one is going to impose their ideas on me. I was brought up with freedom, you know, to go in marches and say no to the bomb, no to Vietnam, no to this. Um, and I find completely crazy that there are people who influence others to follow them, because a lot of people like to follow. You have to say that, though.
Yeah.
So I think we
So
need
these people
to.
are not willing to be free.
Exactly. You need, exactly. I mean, that's the point, wasn't it, Charles, that you said?
Yeah.
And, you know, Leondini said, you need to want to be free, but some people don't. They prefer to follow. But it's the
Yeah.
level of the spirit, isn't it? So I think for us who know, we need to have a life and we need to have a certain way about us that maybe other people will think, oh, no, that's a nice thing. You know, the way they think is good, you
And,
know.
and, and and I would say, Sylvia, they like to follow because they like to blame someone as well. It's not me.
Yeah.
I
Sylvia,
made what he
Oh
asked me
yes.
to
Oh
do.
yes. When it's wrong, yes.
yeah, it's
I
not me. Sylvia did this. She in her channel here. It's her.
exactly, yes. It's her fault. But you know, I think Suetonius, the Roman writer, he said there is nothing more volatile than public opinion, because you know these people that are putting you in a pedestal, very very high, the next moment they can chop it off and throw it to the dogs, you know. And so I think that's one of the things that some people, you know, going into this and being influenced or whatever, they suffer because sooner or later they will follow somebody else, you know, and they will abandon them. And if this person is so used to it, it's a moment of suffering and pain, because I think we are living through the very last stage of a world of atonement. I think we're really going now to the, you know, we're beginning the world of regeneration. But all this has to be cleansed before we can move on. And it's all part of this process. So I think we are living in very difficult times, but also the best of times, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we are living the time of the end of the period of atonement and the beginning of regeneration. Because I think, you know, we see so many wrong things. There are wars, there are famine, you know, so many wrong things. But there are more good things than bad things, because most people are good. Maybe not, you know, saints, but they are good. Because if the majority were evil, we wouldn't be able to survive. So I think the great majority of people are good, are changing, are better. And that's why we can cope, you know. And I think sometimes we need to stand up and say, no, we don't accept that. That's against my philosophies, against my way of life. And you can live the way you want, but do not impose this on me. I think there are times for everything under the sun, I think.
Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree. And
And here we touch the subject of fatality, isn't it, Stevan? Some things seem to follow this law of fatality, okay?
mhm,
Or the fate. Huh? When But the Spiritist body of knowledge teaches us that unavoidable things are, for instance, the law of nature. Giving simple example, you pull through the window, what happens? You fall down. Once you pulled, according to your free will, you are not free anymore to fall down or not. You will fall down because it's law of nature for you to fall down, isn't it? And if you selected to have a life to try to help you to progress and to get rid of, I don't know, some bads that we have still in ourselves, and we all have, because we are all imperfect here on earth, we made the choice to have for instance, to have material difficulties in our life. We can do whatever we want. The things will happen as we selected before we incarnated. So what we think is something which is fate, fatality, is simply the consequence of a choice we made beforehand, isn't it?
Yes. Agreed. Yeah. Perfectly. Well said.
According to our free will. So we have always this free will and this liberty.
But I think, I always, reading, studying the Spirit's book, there is one thing, free will also is very relative term, because if you remember one of the questions in the Spirit's book that Kardec asked the Spirit, is saying, all men will be enlightened. Will they all progress and be enlightened spirit? And the answer from the spirits is very, very, as normal, is very concise and straight to the point. It's your destiny. So we may dance around maybe for millennia in the wrong road, but eventually you're gonna get to go to the right road. There is no other way to do it. We have to go on the hard road, and we will. And it's a choice to make it
Sooner or
better
later
with
we
the
have to
path.
face it.
Yes.
Sooner or later we have to face it.
Yeah.
And it's part of our learning process, isn't it? We do things
Yes.
wrong, and then we see the consequences, and then we think about, and then with the progress, we stop doing wrong things and are doing more and more good things.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The destiny is to progress and go forward always. Yeah, that's good, isn't it? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you, my
Next week we
friend.
will talk about progress, isn't it, Stevan?
Yeah, next week we will talk about the law of progress.
Progress.
Yeah, so let me put it here.
So this is a law we are not free to accept or not, because we will progress. Even if we don't want, we will progress.
Oh, yes. Always forward.
Yes.
Always forward. Yeah. And today, I think today is solstice day, isn't it? Today or tomorrow. We are in the
Today.
longest day of the year. So
Oh,
the
yes?
sun is going straight into Stonehenge. And
Oh,
I
good.
love this time. Yeah. It's brilliant. And from now on, the days are going to become shorter and shorter until we get to December. And then, but you still have many nights of enjoyment of the twilight, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yes.
Yeah,
I
it's a
still have
beautiful
sun.
time. I'm
I still have
grateful for this beautiful time of the year with the sun and, the magic of solstice and all that. I'm grateful for that. So,
Yeah.
brilliant.
So I would like to say thank you to Marcos, Davis, Ruben de los Santos, Silveira Souza, Olena Babyliss, Lynn Kelly. So thank you very much for your comments and insights. Let me finish here. So the Medios book study every Wednesday, every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Monday we do at 8 p.m. London time, we do have Ebony Paris with the study of the book Astral City, Nosso Lar. And every other Tuesday, we do have conversations on mediumship with Rafael Caldas and Faye Waddington. This is it from us today, my friends. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your patience. My friends, it was a pleasure again to share this moment with you both. And I wish you a wonderful rest of the week. And I'll see you next Wednesday.
Yes.
See
God
you.
willing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Have a lovely week, and I'll see you next week, God willing. Bye-bye, everyone. God bless.